Hey, what's up? I'm back again already. Back with another video this week since I didn't get to make any when my dad was off. And one thing I forgot to update on is remember how I thought I was getting COVID or I needed to be tested? Well, I did get tested, and I like to title this video, I don't have COVID, okay? Thankfully, they said it was either allergies, which I suspected, or a regular cold, which I haven't had since a year before I had COVID, like December of 2019, so about 2 years since I'd had a regular cold. And what I'd like to talk about today, well, is a number of things. You know, first of all, I have this TV illuminating my face, and right now what I think I'm watching is The Karate Kid. And basically it's Ralph Macchio, which there could never be enough guys like Ralph Macchio, you know, that just naturally don't have a really deep voice. And I was just thinking about how the cartoon role would just be so much better, you know, if there were more guys like Ralph Macchio or, you know, women to voice these little boy characters. Um, you know, because it would just, I don't know. You know, one time we were watching The Croods. Like, there was this movie called The Croods. And it was a few years back. I want to say like 2013 or something. And we went and saw it with, well, it was me, my mom, my aunt, and her little granddaughter who was, I think, still 5 years old at the time. Yeah, that's right. And we watched it. It was CGI animation. And you would think I would have liked it somewhat. And it wasn't that bad. But, you know, at the end of the movie, I asked my mom how she felt about it. And she said that was crap to me. And basically, you know, that hurt my aunt's feelings because, you know, she went and saw it with her little granddaughter. And, you know, it wasn't supposed to be for us to enjoy. But the reason my mom hated it, for obvious reasons, was the fact that it was a cartoon. And, you know, that, I mean, naturally my mom doesn't get into anything, you know, cartoon related. She hates it. She sees it as an insult to her as a mature woman. And she told me that to even care about the Rugrats reboot is not age appropriate. And I shouldn't care about it. And, you know, she's of the mindset, which I totally agree with. You know, I had never really thought about it this way, but there are some people that say anyone over 18, especially a male, who is a fan of Rugrats is a pedophile. And it really does make sense when you think about it that way. And it makes it really hard for me to get into it because, you know, I just, you know, I don't want to be associated with it. You know, I might still like the characters and I like to draw the characters, you know, just because they were something simple to draw. And I was at a point in my life where my little sister was 5 years old and she was getting into stuff like that. And my art skills were kind of stagnating to where I wasn't getting any better at drawing real people and real things in the real world. So I kind of found that hobby, you know, as something I could do and impress my little sister with my ability to draw the characters from memory. So anyway, I'd like to talk about that, you know, but, you know, the reason I hated the Croods, you know, unlike my mom, she just hates cartoons in general, but I hated the Croods for a totally different reason. It was the fact that Thunk Crude was supposed to be a 9-year-old boy, yet he was voiced by an adult man. And I just happened to put that TV on, you know, I think it's The Karate Kid. And I was just thinking about Ralph Macchio and how the world, you know, would just be a much better place if there were more guys like Ralph Macchio that would voice, you know, cartoon boys, you know, men that actually sound like little boys, and or there would be more women who would provide such voices and without crediting themselves as women, you know, sort of like J.K. Rowling, you know, if their name, well, I mean, any letter can be male or female as far as an initial. So, You know, like if your name is Veronica, you could just put V last name. You know what I'm saying? VM last name. And no one would have any reason to believe it wasn't Victor or Vincent or whatnot. So, I think it would be more successful if more women, would provide such voices without distinguishing themselves as women. You know what I'm saying? But I guess that would be female erasure, and that wouldn't be good either, in a way. But, it made me dysphoric, this stupid movie called The Croods. And so the reason I hated it, I was like 29 at the time. Wow, does time fly. So, if Thunk Crude would have been voiced by a woman or a real little boy or a man like Ralph Macchio, it would have been a better movie. Like Ralph Macchio at the time of that Karate Kid movie. So anyway, and another thing, they really ought to find ways to synthesize voices. That's another thing. I mean, you would think that with all the technology that we have, there would be some ability to synthesize an adult male voice and make it sound more like a child. Alter the pitch and the timbre or tone color or whatever you call it, and make it sound more like a child with a computer. But I digress. So anyway, what I want to talk about today is something, I was thinking about how, I'm feeling better. And I went through so many Kleenex, when my voice was sounding weird like that. But I kept this box, even though it doesn't have any Kleenex. I kind of use it as a trash can temporarily. And what I want to talk about today, here is Anna on Frozen, and here she is with Kristoff, and here's Elsa. Okay, I'd like to talk about, one thing I was thinking about, before this apartment fire kind of took over my thoughts. It's how when you look at the Disney characters that are marketed to girls, they're pretty much exclusively beautiful young princesses. Young, pretty girls like this, okay? And that's true with all Disney movies. But then when you look at the male characters on the same movies, other than the prince, he's the leading man, of course, and maybe there's a villain that's also a man, as it should be. But the actual male characters that the young children relate to are not even usually human characters. They're little quirky looking characters like this, Olaf. And, on The Little Mermaid, it would be Flounder and Sebastian. On Beauty and the Beast, it would be the inanimate objects like the candlestick, the clock, and the teacup. And then it's like that across all cartoons. The most interesting male characters are not even human most of the time. They're animals or inanimate objects or just quirky little characters that are distinct to that movie or that show. You know what I'm saying? They're not like generic princes, although there is a leading prince. But, the characters, like, the male characters are just so much more diverse, because as I've stated before, there's just so much more talented male voiceovers than females. It's easier to find a male willing to voice a cartoon character, especially a non-human one, than it is to find a woman. Okay, and that is how we end up with so many cartoon little boys that are voiced by men, because there are more men that want to be voice actors. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that. Once again, I mean, probably I have way too many videos about that. And, how I'm feeling better. And, I'm just so sick of this apartment. I'm hoping my dad will retire next year. And, I guess I won't be able to make as many videos, but I guess that's a lot better than the risk of a fire, now that it's on my mind all the time. And it keeps me from living my life, I mean, my dad says, like, well, you can't stop living your life. You can't stop doing what you would normally do just because an apartment burned down. And I guess to an extent you can't, but I'm just always thinking, just a minute ago, there were people in the dog park that were from the apartment where they lost everything. And they were talking about it. And it just reminded me of it, like, what if they had a YouTube channel? You know what I'm saying? What if they had just been making a video of something totally different, And then the next day it's like they would have to explain, why their life has changed so much. And I'm just thinking about that, how insignificant everything else would seem if that had been our apartment, like everything else would just become embarrassingly stupid to even remember that I cared so much about, including this subject matter, you know what I'm saying? So I guess that's all I have to say on this video.